The Lord God opens my ear that I may hear, and I have not rebelled, nor I have turned back. I gave my back to those who beat me, my cheeks to those who plucked my beard. My face I did not shield from buffets and spitting. The Lord God is my help. Therefore I am not disgraced. I have set my face like flint, knowing that I shall not be put to shame. He is near who upholds my right. If anyone wishes to oppose me, let us appear together. Who disputes my right? Let the man confront me. See, the Lord God is my help. Who will prove me wrong? The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Song is number 750 in the hymnal, The Goodness of the Lord, number 750.
I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the
What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone says he has faith, but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister has nothing to wear and has no food for the day, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm, and eat well," but you do not give them the necessities of the body, what good is it? So also faith of itself, if it does not have works, it is dead. Indeed, someone might say, "You have faith, and I have works." Demonstrate your faith to me without works, and I will demonstrate my faith to you from my works. The word of the Lord.
Jesus and his disciples set out for the villages of Caesarea Philippi. Along the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said in reply, "John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others one of the prophets." And he asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said to him in reply, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days. He spoke this openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. At this, he turned around and, looking at his disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are not thinking as God does, but as human beings do." He summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and that of the gospel will save it." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. No other apostle arouses so much sympathy in the hearts of men as Peter. He seems very close to us in his conflicts and his emotions, his strength and his weakness, his resolve to be heroic, and his disastrous failure to live up to his aspiration. One moment he's humble, and another proud. He affirms the fidelity to our blessed Lord, then he denies him. He's so supernatural, yet so very weak and natural. He extols as divine the master he loves, only to be frightened by a little girl into saying that he does not know the man. No chain is stronger than its weakest link. And the weakest link in the entire apostolic chain was the first link, Peter. And Jesus holds on to that. Hence, get behind me, Satan. But, as Matthew is quick to add, the gates of hell shall never prevail. It's fitting that the first one chosen by Jesus to be an apostle was given a new name to represent his new character. He did not, however, lose his old name. Instead, he now has two names. He was, at one time, at the same time, Simon and Peter. As Simon, he was the son of Jonah. As Peter, he was an apostle to the Son of God. Peter never entirely got rid of Simon, but once called, Simon never ceased to be Peter. Sometimes it was Simon who came to the fore, at other times it was Peter. The tug of war between his earthly life named Simon and his apostolic life named Peter was revealed at Caesarea Philippi and answered to Jesus' question, "Who do you say that I am?" Our blessed Lord began by asking, "Who do people say that I am? What is the Gallup poll saying about me?" And their answer in modern language was, well, 24.2% say you are John the Baptist, 38.4% say you are Elijah, 24.3% say one of the prophets. So leave the decision of who Jesus is to the democratic process, and there is nothing but contrary and contradictory answers. So after the appeal to the democratic process, he moved to the aristocratic. He appealed to his House of Lords, his apostles, his parliament, his senate, and you. Who do you say that I am? And there was no answer, as no one was appointed as their spokesman. And what is more, they were not sure who he was. Thomas was too sad and too gloomy to be concerned with theological questions. Andrew, their PR man of the apostolic band, was silent, for he spoke only when he was introducing someone to someone else. For example, the boy with the bread and the fishes to our blessed Lord, his brother Simon to our blessed Lord, the Greeks to our blessed Lord. Matthew, the tax collector, who once sold out to the Romans, felt too tense to answer as he looked at Simon the Zealot, who hated the Romans. Philip, the economist, had no logistical problem to solve, like feeding 5,000, so the question was beyond his interests. James, the less, the quiet, always deferring to his brother John. John, who had one eye on Peter, who seemed to be coming forward probably with his aggressive and his impulsive questioning. But this time, Simon Peter steps forward, and without the consent of the others, he gives the right answer. You are the Christ. But how did Peter know? He didn't know from a study of apologetics or the motives of credibility. The light came neither from reason nor education, but, says Matthew, from heaven. Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my heavenly Father. So, up to this point, we have the Council of Chalcedon, the hypostatic union, the sublime truth that Christ is God and Christ is man, or better yet, the God-man. And at this point, our theology stops, as well as our spirituality. So why do we continue to read what happened at Caesarea Philippi? We know what man says about Christ, we know what heaven says about Christ, but what does Christ say about Christ? Our blessed Lord goes on to say that he is the servant of God, the suffering servant, as prophesied by Isaiah. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days. And he spoke this openly. Christ spoke this openly. And Christ has spoken openly ever since. For all of the failures of some of her members, it is the Catholic Church who speaks God's words openly, who protects Jesus from the cunning and the violence of the democratic process, and popular opinion's ego, who define who Jesus is. From the Bible and the books contained within it as decided by the Catholic Church, from the Old Testament to the Gospels, to Paul's speech offered to puzzled philosophers in Athens, to the letters Paul wrote in prison, to the book of Revelation, from the archangel's Ave to a Galilean girl, to the infallible teaching of her assumption as Queen of Heaven and Earth, as the Bethlehem baby, too weak to raise his head, yet stronger than Caesar Augustus, as the one called Rabbi, who flipped through the pages of the Torah to explain the Beatitudes, as the warrior who picked a fight in the temple by overturning a few tables, as the man tortured to death on a hillside outside Jerusalem with the words, "Father, forgive them," on his lips, as the one risen one who said peace to those who abandoned and betrayed him, from the small group of followers who gathered under Solomon's portico to the church that is present today in every country throughout the world, from the arguments of Aquinas to the tear-stained pages of Augustine's Confessions, from the journeys of Jesuit missionaries to China and Japan, from the works of art at the Vatican to the cathedral in Notre Dame, from Teresa of Avila's pierced heart to Teresa of Calcutta's call to be the poorest of the poor, from the infallible teachings of the Pope to the parish priest making sense of all of this for those in the pews before him. "You are the Christ," said Peter. But despite all of the failures we are facing in the current crisis in the church right now, to hear your voice in all of these ways that I just listed, that's what it means to be Catholic.